That's
You
pretty.
put me on the spot. I could think of something better than that.
No,
Power down works. That works. I like that. But we could think of something better than that. I'm sure. That's
so
like dad joking, you know.
You're listening to the AVIT Amplifier. Each week, we'll feature voices and ideas that need to be amplified in the higher education and pro AV IT communities. This show is brought to you by higheredav.com. And now here's your host, Ryan Gray.
Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in again to the AVIT Amplifier. If it is Wednesday, you know your feed is refreshed and new content, and we are back for week 2 with my friend Troy Powers, who you got to hear from not only on the last episode, but the episode before that, and continuing with his desired theme of bringing new voices, I am bringing you again the voice of Troy Powers. So, sorry about that contradiction in terms. But Troy, would you please remind everybody who you are and what you do?
So Troy Powers, I run the support team for Central IT at Northwestern University, and I am the vice chair of HEPA.
All right, and again, congratulations and condolences on that. So let's see if we can get to the bottom a little bit of the kind of person that would be suckered into to embrace that kind of opportunity for this sort of thing. So first question, and I asked this question of everybody, and I always have I think I know the answer for each person ahead of time, but like, do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I got kind of both tendencies of both. I'm probably a little bit more introverted than extroverted, but if I'm out, I put it this way, I'd probably rather stay home, but once I'm out, I can not hide in the corner usually. So
yeah, once you're out with people, you're not looking to put an end to it, but yeah,
right.
the choice to do it is a bit of a thing. So
right.
How does that work then? Like, being people who work on campuses, and dealing with technology designed for in-person stuff, we spend a lot of time, with people in physical proximity. So how does that weigh into how you work with, your team, your customers on campus and other things like that?
I don't know, man. Honestly, it just, work is different. It's work, so it doesn't count in the same way. I don't know how that makes any sense, but no, I don't tend to have the same kind of introverted I'm out and about. I'm at work. We're doing our thing. My job is to be friendly and supportive of people, so that's what I do. Yeah, I don't. I actually do much less of that now. Like really managing a team, right? So you interact with people a lot less, but generally, if by the time I interact with them, they're angry, right? So yeah. So. I don't have that same kind of, I guess that's more of a personal life kind of thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah, when I'm at work, if I need to call somebody or do something or talk to somebody, I don't tend to have any issue just doing it.
Interesting. So yeah, you've got definitely, it seems like, a different persona almost. And that's a very normal thing for people to have, right? That we adapt to certain things so well that, you can present as almost a whole different personality type in different situations. So that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, let's ask you this question then. Okay. What is a movie or show that you can quote every line?
Oh, Grandma's Boy, bad, super bad.
Yes.
Wedding Crashers, Eastbound and Down.
All right, Eastbound and Down. Okay, so now, it is Eastbound and Down why you've chosen the long hair and beard? Then is that what? I'm just kidding.
Honestly, the long hair has everything to do with I had the same barber for 20 some years, and he moved to Florida and retired, and that's why I have long hair.
Interesting.
There's no other reason for it than that.
So you're just like, if it's not that guy, I'm done. I'm just going
much,
with this. Well, those of us that that struggle with hair as we've gotten older, we like to point. We take out our passive aggressiveness on people with long hair. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I
It's
heard
really just jealousy that really comes to.
my brothers are all bald, pretty much. So yeah, in their 20s too.
Right.
So I've dealt with that the hair envy for some time now.
Well, you live life for the rest of us, Troy. You live life for the rest of us. Never give up. Okay, so then, proud of your hair. Why do you hide it under such a wide variety of flat-billed baseball caps?
I've just been it's just been a kind of a thing that I've done for most of my life. Just I wear New Era caps. I have lots of them. I got probably about close to 100.
Yeah.
Probably about 50 or 60 that are my current hat size. Like a handful or like an eighth of an inch smaller. It's a little bit tight, so I don't tend to wear those anymore.
And obviously, if people have been around Troy, you need to know one of his signature things is color coordination of outfit, hat, shoes, other things like that. So where did this amazing fashion sense come from?
I don't know, man. Just always like to match my hats with my outfit. That's why I have so many colors. If I can't for whatever reason, I'll try to match them just with the shoes or something. Or if it can't, the whole thing can't match. It's not always perfect. So yeah, I don't have that many shoes anymore. I used to have a lot more shoes. I probably have 40 pairs of shoes. But that, oh my God.
Yeah, not that many pairs.
Maybe not enough color variety anymore is the problem.
That's funny. All right. Well, I'm just saying, like, game respect game. And so, that sort of thing, that is fantastic. And I was going to wait to bring this up. But since we're talking about hats, now's the time to put it out there. Why in the hell do so many of them have that ugly curly Q W on the front of them?
Because it's Nationals ride or die, man. Always. Gotta rep DC, man.
Washington Nationals.
Right.
There must be a hard life, you know what I'm saying, to have to cheer for a team with, never mind. I can't even do it. All right, let's find common ground on this front. Do we both despise Bryce Harper the same amount now?
I think I probably hate him more now, right?
That's true.
Yeah. I don't know. Bryce was, his shenanigans and kind of childishness was like, it's one of those things where like, well, he's an asshole, but he's our asshole. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you cover for him, right? But though I like on the surface, I do agree with I wish that some of the unwritten rules and I wish flip the bat, man. Cheer for I like that. I wish that I wish there and the idea of throwing a baseball at someone is absurd to me. That's absurd. We've literally people have died on the Major League Baseball field from being hit in the head.
Yeah.
With baseball. That's absurd to me. Don't throw balls at people. That whole unwritten rule thing. And so I agree with him on that. But no, he's a clown, bro.
And how does it just get under your skin to see him in a Phillies uniform?
Yeah, I mean it's funny because, the whole contract negotiation, I'm going to be the biggest played. I mean, the Nationals had some deferred money in their contract, but he took a lower contract than what the Nationals even offered him.
Yeah.
And like I said, deferred money and, there's reasons to not accept for, whatever. But, he just wasn't worth what he thought he was worth in the end, I think. And he's played great for the Phillies, he's MVP, but, Nationals got that ring before he did.
Bada bing, bada boom. There you go. That's what I'm saying. When that contract was up in Washington, we're like, finally, had Bryce Harper. And then he ends up staying in the division. You got to be, oh my God. Anyways, talk about someone. See, I don't have hair envy for him. His hair just makes me angry no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back to baseball talk with Troy and Ryan. And if nobody has any idea, we just lost everybody because they're like, we tuned in to hear about Troy and technology and you're talking about baseball, but spring training is on. Baseball season's coming around. We're very excited about it. So, okay. Well, at least we can bond over that. And then, how frustrating will it be for you to see Juan Soto in a New York Mets uniform this year?
Yeah, I mean, that's really frustrating. That's one of those things where that got, I really wish they would have signed Juan. They just kind of let all their talent go. Didn't Trey Turner is another big one, but Juan hurt the worst is because he was, he was living up to everything that, none of the other, Bryce didn't really live up to the hype. He was a great player and don't want to take anything away from him, but he didn't live up to the hype that, people thought he would. And Juan Soto has, at every level that he plays the game so well. Like he's got hits with such power, but, we should have signed him. And, it's the ownership stuff, they were trying to sell the team and couldn't have that half a $500 million contract kind of out in the open. So had to make an offer and let him go if they didn't take it, unfortunately. I hate to say this because it's in division, but I'd rather see him in a Mets uniform than a Yankees uniform. So
well, everybody, I can agree. Nobody looks good in a Yankees uniform. They just look smug. You know what I'm saying?
Dodgers uniform.
Oh my gosh, the worst. All right, yeah, you guys got to get yourself one of these hedge fund billionaire owners who throw around hundreds of millions like it's pocket change. It's amazing.
That's right.
It really changes the outlook of your team.
Yeah.
Okay, let me turn you back to a serious question, which is: do you believe people are generally good with a proclivity for evil, or generally evil with a proclivity for good?
I would say neither.
Okay.
I think, we're kind of neutral and socially raised to most things. I think that's probably most people, right? Most people are socially inclined. And then there's some people who are born, good or bad with a proclivity towards that way. And those neutral people just sort of follow along with the person that is influencing them at the time, right?
Interesting. So expand on that a little bit. There's, because often in this question, the nature nurture, thing comes up, and that's a very kind of like, a blank slate is where we start, and really, conditioning makes a lot of people who they are. Is that kind of what you've seen, what you believe? Is that inform how you, work with people?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, if anybody said it didn't, I would have trouble believing anything they said, are you really that incapable of introspection that you can think that? That doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, I think, absolutely there's, you can be something because you just inherently have that built in, right? Absolutely. But I think that's not most people. I think most people are social constructs. They're kind of products of their environment. And look at how often, people, how easy it is to talk to people and have them kind of understand the other side when they're taken away from that groupthink mentality and are able to have a conversation about the actual problems, that are happening, the actual things that are happening, instead of that groupthink mentality. And that buzzword that people are afraid of or whatever. So
does that inform a little why education is important to you as as to the formation of who people are and the betterment of the world?
I think, higher education is different than most education. I know, you don't come to college to learn a thing, right? You come to college to learn how to think. How to think at a higher level, how to kind of combine modalities, how to combine disciplines, and bring things together, how to critically think in ways that you don't learn in primary education. So like, there's always value to higher ed, right? A lot of, you hear that's the talk. Well, it's so expensive. Yeah, there's always value to a higher education. It's not the only answer, right? And there's certainly other things that make a lot of sense. I honestly, I love the fact that HETMA's going global, because I think in so many ways, I kind of envy the European model of education, where they've kind of taken sports out of it. And, you have academies that run the sports, and you've got technical colleges, and you've got universities, and you've kind of separated those things out, and all of them are equally looked upon as equally good, right? And I think that's one of the things that we don't have here is, college is looked at as good, and then people kind of look down on, going to learn a trade, and then becoming an electrician, which, I did. I made good money, right? Great money. And my friends who are still in that industry are making as much more money than I am now. Admittedly, they're kind of punching their bodies in a little bit of a different way than I have to every day. But, there's that.
Go look up the salary of a dental hygienist and see, you know what I'm saying? Like, look at your salary and look at what they're making and go, man, did I, like 100%.
Right. But yeah, I think education teaches you, like higher education particularly, teaches you how to think in a different way. So it's always going to be valuable. Not the only answer, but certainly an answer.
And yeah, making space for that, like you were articulating before, people who doing research or people or whatever, like you can go to school to learn, like you said, if you're learning a trade, if you're learning a thing, you're learning how to do certain things, you're learning certain facts, as part of that. But through those processes, what you're trying to do is get people into another place. But in higher ed, we make a space for people to think and work on things that don't exist in a way that is public, that is for everybody. We know companies and other things have R&D and they try and make that space, but it's got a defined outcome. It needs to produce a product or service that will be profitable, and that creating that space, that the point of it is just simply to increase the total of human knowledge and apply it for good, is, I agree, very special.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that if you moved from working in technology to doing academic research, what would you like to go do research on?
History. I was a history major. I planned to be a teacher. That was my plan. I just kind of
fell backwards into AV like everybody else did.
So no, I'd probably be teaching, doing history research. Like I was being encouraged to turn my college thesis into a book. Which I don't know that I ever would have done, but maybe, yeah.
Well, what was your college thesis on?
George Mason, was a namesake of the university I went to. He was a forgotten founder, right?
Yeah.
He refused to sign the Constitution because of he didn't believe slavery should be involved in the country. He was one of three. And he lost all his friends because of it.
Interesting. See, this is fun because I do not know this story. So, George Mason in Virginia, right, in the same area from a state that, or, a colony at the time that, like I said, a lot of the other founding fathers were from that had slaves.
He was Washington's neighbor, so there was one farm in between their houses. I believe it was a Virginia lawyer. I don't remember the guy's name. Yeah, I mean, Mason rode and saved Martha Washington when the British were coming down the river in the ships, right? Yeah, I mean, they were neighbors and friends.
And he refused to sign the Constitution because, well, now I think you should turn this into a book. I'm now on their side.
There's other books that talk about that in particular. My book was a little bit different, or my thesis is a little bit different, but yeah, no, there's not enough, there's not enough about him, but also he was a real private person, so there isn't as much known about him, and that's kind of the problem, and maybe more of the reasons.
Yeah, I would agree. Like people, like whether it be books or other things that talk about history in sort of compelling ways, almost like you said, the new voices, that it's not what was in the 8th grade textbook, of the approved curriculum, but tell stories of the people whose name isn't on the document, to give context. is really interesting, and I think helps people learn. You know, I mean, it's a cliche, the adage, right, is that people who don't know history are doomed to repeat it.
Right.
And look at how many things that groups of people or society struggles with, that as somebody who studied history, how much do you do that? Which is, you hear people saying, well, it's a really challenging time, X, Y, and Z is going on. And you're like, yeah, same thing was going on 40 years ago, 80 years ago, 120 years ago, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you just kind of look at it through that historical lens, and you can see a lot of similarities to a lot of different things, but Brooke hates it because she always has to hear about it.
And
I always gotta make sure my kid understands history so she knows better.
That's funny. So, so if she says something and you start with a, well, did you know, sort of thing,
I just glaze over.
Yeah, I would say glaze over, eye roll, dad, which, what I'm saying? Which one is it?
Yeah. All of the above.
All of the above. That's awesome. Well, I love the picture of you as the history lecturing dad trying to bring that in. I think that's awesome. So let's put it this way then. I don't think HETMA has ever had an official historian before.
Well, I don't believe so.
But as someone who studies history, like you said, there's a private person, not a lot of material to go on. Should we be doing more to, preserve and publish the history of this organization that undoubtedly 200 years from now, you know what I'm saying? You will be seen as the founding, one of the. How do we make sure no one ends up the George Mason of the history of HETMA? That's my question.
That was actually a conversation that just started coming up. How do we kind of keep track of, like, do we need a timeline kind of page that keeps track of important events? And I think, yeah, probably that is a good thing to do. I mean, you could piece it together through the community right now with, the way we track our different events and things like that, but it's not in a concise, place, right? So, yeah, I think there's a lot of value in tracking that. And I think the point of HETMA is to be a long-term organization, right? To be here in 100 years supporting higher ed in the same way. God knows what AV looks like at that point, right? But HETMA will still be there supporting it for sure. So, probably should keep track of it pretty well so that we can look back and know when things started and where they came from.
Cool. I agree. It's even now when you're like, I remember us talking about this, but where did we land on it? Or this particular document, I bet we could do. All right. Congratulations. You're now in charge of figuring out how to do that because it was your idea. All right. So I always have to ask people about their pets. And I know you have a dog that you put a fair amount of time and effort into. So would you be willing to tell us about the person that you work with, who you take care of first thing every morning?
Yeah. Riley, he's my best buddy. He's sleeping. He's got his pillows on the couch. He's laying on all three of them.
Nice.
He is spoiled rotten. He is his brother was DNA tested. So his brother was a quarter retriever, a quarter lab, a quarter American Staffordshire, and a quarter American Bulldog. So he's a cat bully. He looks like a lab pit mix.
Yeah.
Good boy, just the sweetest dog. He's a nervous peer. So doesn't like confrontation, likes to hide between my legs and pee on me whenever there's confrontation about. Just a good dog. He's my best buddy. Moved out here to Chicago with me. So
nice. So you're his emotional support human.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh, he is a nervous, anxious dog. Yeah. It's a mess.
We've had ones like that too, where there's people who have emotional support dogs, and there are dogs that have emotional support people, and it flows both ways.
He was a pandemic puppy, and it shows. He was so being away from people is not easy for him.
Interesting, nice. Well, it's always good, especially for empty nesters, to have animals about. Our dogs have become they've taken over more and more of the house and seem to have gotten more and more privilege the fewer people that are around. So I think that's all right. That's fantastic. Okay, you've been in Virginia, but now you've been in Chicago for a while. So regardless of where it comes from, what is the best sandwich?
The best sandwich? Carnegie Deli pastrami, right? Yeah, a pastrami sandwich is the best sandwich.
Why?
Because it's pastrami. It's cured and then smoked. Like how is that not the best kind of meat you could ever get?
They're self-evidently correct.
Cured
I don't
and
understand
smoked. Like that's the best.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, all right, then, speaking of cured meats, I got to go to one of the most controversial topics, which is the Iberian ham in Barcelona. It's not good.
Yeah, you're wrong.
It's not good.
You're wrong. I've got a ham in there on the stand right now.
You bought the whole thing and brought it home?
No, you know what? They wouldn't let me. So they used to vacuum pack them in the store, and they would send, because when I was a kid, we came home with the lunch, right? But no, they wouldn't do it. But I bought a bunch of halves, and then I was able to get hooked up with a place that sells them local. So I bought one. Not bad, because the prices I had seen before were like $1,000. I paid like $320 for the whole leg.
Nice. And by nice, I mean that's terrible, because it's not any good.
And I got the cover for it and everything. It's perfect. Yeah.
Sweet. No, I think I have some weird, like, there's people for whom, if you ever, like, if they have a genetic thing where, like, cilantro tastes like soap and stuff like that. I feel like there's something with me, because people love IBM. I'm telling you, it tastes like dirt to me. And I mean, so I don't know. I believe that I am the problem.
Is it just the jamon, or is it the Iberico pork?
I don't know.
Well, if you are ever out here in Chicago, we will go pick up some just straight up Iberico pork.
Okay.
Get that anytime, easily. You know, a shoulder or some pork chops or something, and we'll just cook those.
Okay.
If those toast, because maybe it's just the jamon.
There we go.
You know, they have different kinds of jamon too. You know, the Serrano and there's only one type that's like 100% Iberican ham. Then there's a bunch of different jamon legs that are like partially jamon, like Iberican.
Yeah.
So same kind of thing. But yeah, they sell Iberico ham at the spot down the street from me, and it's actually incredible.
Nice. All right. Well, rumor has it Hetma's having a road show at Northwestern in July.
Yes. Yeah, we got our first planning session for that, and I just got a flyer proof that I have to get approved from like my leadership to make sure it's okay. But yeah, it's got Chris, he used the renderings from the Cohen Lawn, which is where the event's going to be held.
Nice.
It's under construction right now, right?
Right.
The whole lakefront is pretty much under construction in Northwestern right now. So it'll open about a month before the event. So it's beautiful. It's going to have a bar right there. So I don't know how exactly we'll do that, whether I'll try to contract with that bar for a happy hour for drinks, or if we'll bring a service out. We're going to do like 2 tents. One will be for discussions and one will be for vendor setups. It's going to be a good show.
Yeah, exciting. And it's July 11, true?
July 11th.
Everybody mark your calendar now. Chicago Road Show. You know what I'm saying? Great, easy drive in for lots of people in the area.
We're looking at possibly making it a 2-day event where one day would have some there's a handful of manufacturers in the area that have shown some interest. So I think maybe setting up a couple different tours, getting some people out there, sending people to different whatever make, like if we've got Sharp out here, we've got Sony, we've got Panasonic, we got Sure. So, what kind of campus are you? What equipment do you use on your campus? And maybe set you up with those people to get, kind of check out what's there. Oh, and out in Lona also. Yeah. Have their big experience center in Tinley Park. So, trying to work the logistics of that out, much more difficult than just the road show. So I'm not certain that's going to happen yet, but I'd like to try and get it to happen. So I think that'd be awesome to have, that extra kind of manufacturer experience as part of it.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I'm marking my calendar now. I gotta make sure. I gotta go block those days out and make sure I can do that, because I want to come back to Chicago. 2, I'm pumped to see the project that this is. So that would be awesome. Everybody mark your calendar. Okay. Quickly, everyone gets the same 3 questions. Third to last question is, what is a question you wish people would ask you, but nobody ever does?
Oh, I don't know. I like to talk about furniture that I build. I wish people asked me about furniture more. I could talk about furniture a lot.
Yeah, see, we didn't even touch on that. How do you do you live like in an alternate universe where days have like 28 hours instead of 24, and that's how you have time to do all this stuff?
So I don't actually do a lot of furniture building these days just because of the apartment, like just not enough space for it. So most of the stuff I'm doing is smaller, it's like handheld. And woodworking, it's like one of those things that's like, it's a long-term project, right? I don't take a lot of paid jobs anymore. But even when I take a paid job, I mean, I build a table for somebody. That's a 6 month and 8 month project, right? They're not getting it, and that's in 2 weeks, right? It's going to cost thousands of dollars probably too, right? It's a big undertaking, right? And that's something that's going to last you literally forever. You'll be giving that to your kids, and they'll be giving it to their grandkids. So, I don't really have the space to do it as much anymore. So small projects, jewelry boxes, do some custom frames, stuff like that, cutting boards.
What a renaissance. Historian, woodworker, technologist, leader of people.
Yeah,
you're all over the place.
There's the laser right there. It's kind of, you can't really see the laser. It's kind
but killing it. Yeah, if it wasn't for that Washington Nationals thing, you'd almost have it all dialed in. You know what I'm saying? We're very, very close. Cool. Well, next time I will be sure to ask you more about woodworking instead of giving you a hard time about baseball. Cool. All right. Second to last question. How do people get in contact with you if they'd like to learn more about woodworking or the roadshow or any of the other things that we've talked about?
So have a community, reach out to me in the chat, vice chair at hepma.org, troy.powers at northwestern.edu, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Any of those things are perfectly fine.
Perfect. Definitely everybody reach out and get connected with Troy. And then finally, the old newscasters used to have, end their broadcast with a sign-off phrase, good night and good luck, or the weekend update hosts always have something. So what is Troy Powers' drop the mic sign-off phrase?
Oh, man, I have no idea. Power's out. I don't know. Power down. I don't know. I got nothing.
Thank you for listening to the AV-IT Amplifier. Join us again for next week's episode when we'll welcome a new guest who you'll want to hear from. We promise. Your host has been Ryan Gray. He's on the tweeters at Ryan_A_Gray, or find him on LinkedIn to connect. Please subscribe and give the show a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. This show is brought to you by higheredav.com. The views expressed here are not necessarily those of our respective institutions, employers, or sponsors. Everyone hang in there, go easy, and we'll be back next week.